We're doing an auction, a live auction, ladies and gentlemen. And even if you're not bidding on anything, it's so worth it to watch the amazing pipes of Joe Bodnar. Give it up for Joe. Joe
Bodnar. Hey, welcome to Bodnars, Bids, and Banter. I'm your host, Joe Bodnar, and...
Maureen.
Bodnar.
Yes.
I know. I always like you to say Bodnar. Every time I like to hear that
it's
Bodnar.
It's implied.
Yeah, but the Bodnar's great. I like to hear Bodnar.
Fine. I will no longer be Maureen. I'll just introduce myself as Bodnar.
Mrs. Bodnar.
I'm Bodnar.
And we have a great special guest, a past president of the NJSSA, current vice president of the State Society of Auctioneers, an ambassador to the National Auctioneers Association, and president of Max Spann Realty. We have Max Spann, I believe, the third? Am I correct on that?
I am Junior.
Junior.
There is a third, though.
But you're right up here. There you go.
There you go.
Max Spann Jr. Junior. But there is a third in there, isn't there?
Yes, I have a third. But it's an old family name. It was actually after my great-grandfather, but it skipped a generation. Otherwise, I would have been a third.
Okay.
Holy smokes.
I didn't know it went back that far.
So you know what I just looked up before you got here. I was president of the NJSSA in 2010 and 2011, and I think that's when our friendship really came to be. And now you think about it, we're going 15 years. Holy shit, right? Yeah. 15 years.
Yep.
So it's been 15 years. So Max runs a company where they auction property, completely different from our personal property. You got the big.
We do real estate.
You do real estate.
Right.
You do real estate well. That's for sure.
Well, we try.
We all try, right?
Yeah.
But that's a whole different animal in itself, in my opinion, because with real estate, you're dealing with big numbers. You're dealing with people that, hey, for us, can someone get cleared for spending 200 or someone spending 2,000? You're going into the million, right? Yeah.
Well, we deal in all different asset classes, so, one time we might be selling a large farm that is worth, multi-millions dollars of worth of money. Whereas we just did a sale for the city of Salem where we had properties that sold for like $5,000.
Wow.
But there was 60 of them in the whole sale.
Right.
So it runs the whole spectrum, all different asset classes from commercial to high-end residential to redevelopment type properties.
I remember, I think a lot of your sales, we met in 2010, and then I believe you asked me to auctioneer in 2011 about that. So, and I remember coming to auctioneer the first time, and the first time I auctioneered for you, it was just a total different aspect because at my own sale, I would sell an item a minute, maybe 2 items a minute.
Right.
With real estate, I don't think I was prepared that first day when I got there and you were like, okay, you're gonna look for me to tell you to say sold and you're gonna hold it out. And it takes 10 minutes sometimes, 15 minutes to sell a property, right? I mean, I remember one property we sold, it was a shopping mall down in Cherry Hill. And it was like, 90 degrees?
That's right. We were out in the parking lot.
Yeah, we're out in the parking lot. It was like 100 degrees outside, right? I literally drank 16 bottles of water in an hour. I remember that's the only thing we sold. It took about 45 minutes or an hour. It took an hour, I think. And I think for a half hour, I literally stood there and was going, all right, what else can I say? 1.2 million, 1.3, 1.3, 1.3, 1.2, 1.3. And like, I'm drinking bottles of water. And then you finally said, let's take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, that's unusual. Usually, they're pretty quick.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. You're talking to prospective bidders. You're also talking with your seller, to try to get a consensus. So, sometimes it does, drag out, but we don't like it that way.
No. I get right. One and done, quick.
Right.
Well, that's true because when I used to do different sales with you with, say, Patterson or Irvington, and we had multiple parcels or however you would call it, we would definitely be selling
They
more.
Would be moving pretty quick.
Yeah, quick.
We'd introduce the item, hand it over to you, bing, 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 and done. Because otherwise you'd be there all day.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different animal.
That is, I miss those sales. I personally miss. I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry, don't get offended. It was the most favorite job I've ever had.
Oh, man.
Working for, well, I got to work with, getting to work with Nally was amazing.
She's incredible.
Yeah, she's incredible. And I just loved working with her.
Well, I think, you have a team that's very reminiscent of like our team.
Yeah.
It's a family, and you
Everybody knows their
company.
business. We would pull up to the site. You didn't have to tell anyone to do anything.
No.
They just knew what to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And everybody, anticipated what, had to be done, or they might see Joe up on the stage and say, okay, I know what he's, needs here. And so it is fun, that whole team aspect of it. And you and I have talked about, because, auctions have kind of gone to where they're mostly online now.
Right. Yes.
And we've talked about, and it's not just nostalgia, but not having the personal
Connection.
Yes.
connection. And I think, like with our company, we're going to start doing, selectively start doing live auctions again.
Right. I know we've been on the fence about it ourselves.
We have been.
It's a hard call because you look at it's a production when you look at it. So when you're doing a live event, it's a production no matter how you look at it. It's no different from doing a TV show or anything else. You got to have proper promotion, proper advertising, where you're going to have it, this, that, and everything else. At least with you, if you have a piece of real estate, I think it's almost sometimes beneficial that they're on property
They can see it.
and they're salivating over the property. It's like, check out the pool in the back,
There's a convenience of online.
Yes.
That's, there's no denying that. But even because we switched to online almost exclusively with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had
same
to.
as us. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was dubious about it, but people seem to really embrace it and like it.
Right.
But in retrospect, we get a lot of people that say, I've missed those days. I like to, see who I'm bidding against.
Right.
They want that affirmation.
Sure.
And I think for some certain properties selectively, we're gonna experiment. We'll still have the simulcast component. We'll still have the ability for people to bid remotely.
Right.
But we'll have that live component.
Right.
Yeah.
With the live auctions, what I remember with the live auction, one of my favorite sales I did with you was a log cabin. Do you remember that? It was a log cabin.
Was that by there was a pond out in
Yes.
front? Yeah.
And there was a horses on there. I believe there was a horse ring. I'll never forget. Remember, I think I came home.
You told me about it.
I was like, man, I want to buy this place. And that was, I think, one of the benefits of a live show because you saw it. I mean, I went there literally. If I remember correctly, the bottom floor had like 3 or 4 bedrooms. And I was like, we could throw the kids down there. They could live on the bottom floor. We could live on the top floor. And there was offices like off to the right or something. What a beautiful place that was. That was a fantastic place.
Yeah, it was up in Warren County. Beautiful private setting.
Yeah.
If you're an outdoors person, they had trails all through it.
Right.
You had the pond. You go fishing and it was really that was a fun property.
But who knows? One day we might go to live. We've been talking about. I think a hybrid is going to be the wave of the future. That's kind of what I see, where you have you're offering online bidding with an in-person setting and selective properties, like you said.
Yeah. Even if we do venture back into doing that, we'll still have the hybrid component.
Yeah. But
because that's not going away.
You had a hybrid component even before the pandemic.
Yeah, we did. We had, online bidding that were bidding real time with the auctioneer. So there was an audio visual feed where they could see Joe calling, but they could bid online.
Yep.
So then it just went on to online only. And so we're going to experiment. We'll see what happens.
And I think now, too, I think since the pandemic, I think buyers have adjusted themselves of trusting bidding online.
Yes.
And I think also the technology has gotten better because it's forced all the companies to really like boost their programs to be more fitting for a live broadcast type of sale. Because that's what we're doing. I mean, with the live broadcast, I feel like in the beginning it was a little shaky, but now it's even better.
Oh, we were very shaky. Are you talking about the bidders or us?
I think both. But I think at the beginning of the pandemic, and we converted, our house here to our showroom, and I ran the auction upstairs in my underwear, basically. and we did we have a live feed in the very first? I guess we did. Yes. I guess the whole reason we didn't go to live auctioneers is because they didn't have a live broadcast.
They didn't have a live broadcast.
Right, that's correct. So we're
but
unavailable.
Don't you still call the auction,
Yes.
but it's online.
Yes.
Yeah, which we've done since we switched. We just did it upstairs in our office, and this whole room was emptied out and was just tables
Of
Yeah.
And this
merchandise.
is where we would catalog and everything. But no, and then when we transformed our warehouse, we had just a cell phone, and someone would sit there with the cell phone and go from item to item to item. Boy, that was shaky. Boy,
Yeah,
a
we
lot of
used to
the
do that.
a
Yeah,
lot of the
that's
bidders
right.
were like, "Could you slow down? I'm getting sick."
Yeah, it was kind
Because
of
they
like
were
the
like-
Witch Blair effect.
Oh,
the Witch,
right,
the Witch
yeah.
Blair project. You know,
Because
that phones
whoever
are-
was holding it, if their attention got drawn,
Yeah.
you know, they were
Yeah.
all over. It was
Yeah.
pretty bad. And now, I mean, we have I think a pretty professional setup back there.
Yeah, no,
you
I
know?
think we do
It's,
too.
you know.
Absolutely. Where now we put it under a camera. We incorporated
goes
a
on a
turntable, so it looks
turntable.
like QVC. You know, I like watching QVC. You know, I got that QVC effect going around
I
on
was
the
gonna say,
turntable.
you never buy anything off of there. You just watch it.
I've only bought one thing off of
thing.
QVC, maybe two things. Like I think I bought some Christmas lights once,
Maybe. I don't know.
and something else.
But yeah,
He's an
we've
auctioneer.
changed.
He wants to buy it at an auction.
You're
He goes,
damn
"Well,
right.
That's
I'd rather
right.
buy it at
That's
auction.
right. That's absolutely. It's hard to buy things full price, you
I
know,
don't
when you
like
run an
paying
auction.
full price for anything. Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah, no.
Well, in my business, we deal with a lot of unique types of real estate.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always the issue of how do I evaluate this?
Right.
I'm not talking about the seller, although there is price discovery for them, but also the bidders.
Yeah.
If you have like a 100-acre farm, what's that worth? Every 100-acre farm could be a little bit different.
Right.
So by bidding in a communal event, they're seeing what other people in the marketplace, how they're valuing the property.
Right. Right.
And so
Yeah.
they, at the end of the day, they said, maybe I'm a fool, but I'm only a $10,000 fool because I bid that much more than the person next to me.
What?
You know, I've never thought
And it's
about
gotta
that
be the same with
portion
you.
of it. Yeah.
The same with your business.
Yeah, no, I think it's the same because people will review other auctions and this, that, and
Yes.
get a feel for what things are
I mean,
selling for.
ours is a little bit easier, because a lot of times you can find the exact same
Yeah.
thing at other auctions. Not always, and
But
art.
like antiques and artwork,
Is different. Artwork's difficult. It's
because that's in
subjective.
the eyes of the
It's the eyes
exactly.
of the beholder.
It's
But I think that's
subjective.
where you can win in real estate. And I think people it amazes me, basically you're one of the only auction companies in New Jersey that do auctions exclusively. I mean, you have some online companies, I guess, but you kind of captured that market of an auction with real estate. And I don't think enough people think of it as a valuable way of selling it. But from what I've seen, I'm sure you can discuss this, I think it's the only way you should sell your real estate or anything, you know?
buying and selling. It's an event where a decision's being made.
Right.
So, unfortunately, a lot of people think of auctions as a distress type of situation.
Right.
Sure.
It's simply an alternative way of marketing.
Yeah.
And, we represent, very wealthy individuals to corporations to what have you. And the common thing that they like about it is it allows them to control the timing when they want to
Yes.
sell the property. It allows them to predetermine the terms and conditions. So it eliminates all the back and forth negotiations and
Right, which is a
inspections
hassle.
and all that. It is.
Yeah.
It's a hassle. And really, when I bought my first house, I tried to negotiate and they told me, well, take it or leave it. So it was really pointless anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
And it's not like in an auction, you're still going to have to disclose if there's an oil tank and things of that
Yeah.
nature, which even though you're selling it as is, but it
Right.
eliminates the bullshit. Like,
Yes.
hey, the roof looks like it's 15 years old.
Well,
Right.
I want to knock 10 grand
was
off,
gonna
right?
say-
Yeah,
And
that's one of the things that's so aggravating for buyers
Yes.
and sellers is all that back and forth and I
Right.
want this taken care of and this is what we're selling.
Right.
This is, you bid your price and,
Right.
and you're done.
And it's full disclosure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of times where you see these absolute auctions or whatever they call them in real estate, and all you get is a shot of the outside of the house. You get nothing else.
Yeah, we've seen that before. Those
You
are like
know,
bankruptcy
and you're-
deals.
yes,
They're not
but-
like real auction companies. Like,
But that's what people think of.
Oh, right,
when
that's
they
what
think
people
of
think of.
auction.
Yes,
But
yes.
with your auction, it's come in.
Yeah.
Look at the house. There's full photos of everything.
Well, the more educated a bidder is, the more they're going to bid because
Right.
they're not discounting for unknown
Right.
factors.
Well, and it builds confidence in your company. I know I can look at a upcoming home or whatever it is on Max Spann's thing, and I know it's honest.
Yes.
It's not, I'm selling it as is and you can't even come in and look and, this may be a complete teardown.
I remember there was a deal we did in Hillsborough and they bought the property sight unseen like you're talking about. And they opened it up and it was a hoard and the whole place was hoarded, man. It was like they opened the door and you couldn't even walk in the place. And they gave us a phone call. We came in and we took the things that we could sell, but it was one of those it was like storage wars of a condo.
Right.
Like an episode of Hoarders.
But with your company, you actually do, what do they call it? Open house?
Yeah, we have open houses and, we assemble a detailed information package, which is made available to prospective bidders. Right. So it discloses everything that we know.
Yeah.
About the property in there.
And I don't understand why, especially in this market and especially during the pandemic, more and more now people are getting into bidding wars over homes. I'm putting in this and it's higher and it's higher and it's higher and it's higher. But that's dragging that process out, for months and months and months for the seller, which is great for them. I mean, they're making more money, but it's still dragging it out when you can do the same thing you're doing, but in one day.
Yeah. No, and I think so because, most houses are going in bidding wars these days. So I think putting it instead of a drawn out bidding war, I think using a professional auction to sell it is a much better thought process.
We just did a sale in West Orange of a house. The mother was, the kids were, moving the mother into an assisted living facility. And, the house was nice. It was in a nice neighborhood of West Orange, but they didn't want to go through all the hassle, this inspection, that, because I knew things were, older.
Right.
It was in good shape. And it went like gangbusters.
Right.
And the bidders really liked it because they are out looking to buy a property.
Right.
And you go through an emotional roller coaster of negotiating, getting the contract signed, then going through attorney review just to have something blow up on you.
Exactly.
They want to know that they're got a deal or not.
Exactly. And in this day and age, so many people are buying these homes, older homes, and they're fixing them up themselves. They're not calling in the contractor, and they're taking that, time of fixing up the home and they're turning it into money by becoming content creators while they're doing it, so they're not, they don't mind, that it's not in perfect shape, because I can't tell you. And, most people on social media can tell you how many content creators are out there right now fixing up homes all over the world. It's amazing. So they're profiting off of fixing up the inside of the home.
Right.
It's amazing.
And I think it's not even in older homes. I know in the years ago, used to do a lot of condo sales and they were brand new properties, really, right? They were brand new condos.
Yep.
And we used to do like a round robin, high bidder take choice, and we used to be telling everybody, no, don't wait till the end, because it always went that way. Because somebody's first one would be 95,000, say, or then 75,000, and one would jump, and it would jump to like 125,000. I tell people, don't wait
till the end.
Yeah. Well, supply and demand. That when the supply starts to disappear, then all of a sudden,
demand comes up. Those sales were cool.
They were.
Yeah, no, those were good sales. You'd have a tote board and be showing up and down, this and that. And, one of the things different from what we ever did, you have bid spotters and you have people that would be working the crowd. I've done that job too. I remember a couple of times.
Were you at the one that we had at the Brigada down in Atlantic City?
No, I don't think I was at the Brigada.
That was probably the biggest auction I was ever in. We had over 1,000 people at it.
Wow.
We had bid spotters and we sold like $25 million worth of real estate that day.
Wow.
Yeah,
it was all brand new condos.
See, I couldn't do that. I would have took $1 million of that and went over to the casino.
To the casino, that's right.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot of fun.
I think the biggest one I was at that you did was at the convention center in Atlantic City.
Okay.
That was a larger one with condos. And
was that for the city or was it was condos?
That was for the city, I think.
I think it was for the city.
That was city properties,
Yeah.
Because the mayor was there.
Right.
But the mayor was there, if I remember correctly.
I think that wasn't my first one. But that was when I wasn't supposed to work. I just came with you because
I think we stayed there.
We
that
were going to
night.
make a little, 2-day.
I spent the money you gave me
I
the
think
I
auctioneer.
think we drafted you.
And then,
We're
and
like,
then
we need you.
I was getting out of the car, and Barb was getting out of the car, and she went, "Thank God you're here." And I said, "Sure, I'll work."
Yeah, no, as a matter of fact, we spent the night in AC that night, and I gambled my
You
auction
gambled
winnings.
your paycheck.
No, but I think I won. I don't know. I'm up and down in AC. The best thing you could do in AC is lose, because then you don't go back.
You don't.
You know what I'm saying? That's really the best thing that could happen in AC.
Yeah. The one and only time I gambled, I had $20 and I did the wheel thing.
Right.
And within 5 minutes, it was all gone. I go,
Yeah.
well, that wasn't very much fun.
We can do that for you right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone likes to
I'd
gamble
rather
a
just
lot.
have given it to somebody. I would have gotten,
Yeah, no, we go. He loves to just
I have my moments.
throw it on the table. I'm very cautious.
Yeah, that teach
I'm a
their own.
cautious.
I get excited. I don't know. I love it. But there again, I play everything. I'll play.
Me too.
I'm not just stuck on slot. See, I used to go down there a lot, play slot machine for 10, 15 minutes, win $1,000 and walk away. Because that's the key. Because you'll win. You could win. It's knowing when to walk away.
Yeah.
But then you get into like roulette or craps and stuff like that, and you could drop $2,000. 20 minutes, half hour. It's very easy to do, But that's the best thing that can happen. Because then you walk away and you say, "What the fuck did I just do?
you're
That's
never doing
crazy."
that
You
again.
lose all your money, can't, spend any more.
Yeah, that's it. It's all gone.
Exactly. Then that's the 2.5 hour drive of shame going back home.
Well, hopefully saved enough for gas.
Right.
Yeah.
But bid spotters, you think the auctioneer is a hard job, but bid spotters are just as important when you're in that setting, because you might see this at a real estate auction. You'll see it at Meekum or
Those car
Barrett
auctions,
Jackson
yeah.
uses bid spotters and stuff, but it really
A bid
works.
spotter is very valuable.
Absolutely.
They have the ability to energize the crowd. The crowd just feeds off of them. Plus, they know how to read, body language.
Yes.
They know when somebody's like kind of leaning up and you can see they're tense because they want to bid, and they come over and
That's
even
it.
like a pat on the shoulder.
Yeah, psychological thing. That's
It
something
is.
your father used to do. Anytime
was
your
great.
anytime your father would talk to you, he would go, "So." You get right in and talk, and it makes a difference.
It makes people relaxed.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, all right, these are human beings. They're
Yeah.
and somebody that's not uptight is more apt to bid than somebody that's really all
Right.
tensed up.
And that's something you lose online,
Right, that is
like
something
with
we
our
lose
auctions. Remember, we always do the little exercise.
The warm-up.
and
Yeah,
stretch.
no, the warm up.
Never forget.
Everybody turn and
Yeah.
shake the person's hand next to you.
Yeah, and tell you how wonderful
How
you
wonderful
are.
you are.
Yeah, your father did a great job with that. He was a legend where every sale he had his spiel. You wiggle your ear here,
here.
you wiggle your ear there. Again, you're ready. Boom, boom, boom. Get your hand up, and then boom, everybody stand.
I never did that because I couldn't get away with it.
Yeah.
Like he got away with it.
No, but that's it. But that's something that we take back as a memory that was signature to him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I even thought a couple of times maybe I should do something like that in honor of him. But then I was like, nah, you know what? That was his thing, and that was great.
Well, it gets back to the human factor. That's why we're talking about maybe doing live auctions again.
Right.
To bring back that human element.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because our business, like you said before, is a kind of show business.
Yes.
Yeah.
And people come because they like the show.
Yes.
And they're doing business, but they're enjoying that as well.
Yeah.
And online just...
It's not the same.
It's not the same. I don't disagree because it is a show. You have people who come just to come and see what it's going to sell for, and then you have people that are there to make deals with other people in the crowd. That's happening all the time. And then you got the real buyers, and then you're putting on a complete show of excitement and entertainment and talking people in and da 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 and everything else. We even back at the building we had a VIP at the
bidders.
end. We had a VIP bidders that I implemented. It was so it was so upsetting. Not upsetting, but we had it for like 9 months, and then the pandemic hit. But I sold a prescription. It was like $100 a year, I think, right?
Yeah.
So you had like a VIP lounge?
Yes, we had a VIP
We had
lounge.
a VIP lounge. We had phone, like places you could charge your phone. phone. We put out, all the
great.
stuff.
Yeah.
You could only come in preview if you were a VIP bidder.
You got a special preview. You got a bidding card that was your permanent
you
number.
never
So
had
you didn't
to check
have to
in.
register it anymore. You could just walk in.
skip the line.
And skip the line.
Because I would register every VIB bidder prior
And
to the
people thought
sale.
I
That was
crazy.
that was a great idea.
Yeah, that was a great idea. People thought I was crazy. I sold over 100 of those.
people
I sold 100 in the first
loved
year.
it.
People loved it. It was great,
People loved
and then of course the pandemic hits, and you know how these buyers are. They're like, "Can I get a refund of my 3 months?"
Oh, for crying out loud! Yeah.
I'm like, we're in a pandemic. I'm not refunding. There was one person, they said, because they just bought it, I was like, they bought it like 2 months prior, and they're like, can I get a refund? I'm like, no, I don't know. We might still go live. I don't know. I'm not going to refund you your money right now. But that was cool. The VIP lounge, that actually worked really good. Some people, I remember like attending like the National Auctioneers Association convention, and somebody made mention about charging admission to go to the auction. And most people like frowned at that. But it works. If you're in demand, Barrett Jackson could definitely charge admission. Meekum can.
I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do too. I think that if you don't get a bidding card or whatever, you could charge. I mean, there was a point I think we could have charged. We could have charged, hey, listen, $5 a head, unless you buy something, we refund it to you,
Maybe
and they would still show.
Maybe it would have cut down on the theft.
Maybe it would have kept down the theft. I don't know. Maybe the thieves would still come because for $5 they could walk away with $200 in their pocket. Who the hell knows?
See, that's for us where we take pause on going back to
that is one pause thing that we asked.
It was very difficult keeping an eye on everything all day. There was always theft.
There was. There was a lot of
we
theft.
always had to. Yeah, but I miss the personal aspect. I mean, even now, just 3 months ago, I saw bidders for the first time that I haven't seen since before the pandemic.
Yeah,
and I see, because we have cameras everywhere in the back. So
well, do you have previews of the?
Yeah.
So you do still have that interaction.
We have a preview, but to be honest with you, nobody really comes.
Not many people come because they know. But I guess that's a testament to our cataloging and our photographing is that they don't feel like they need to anymore in person.
So I think too, what we've changed, back when we were live, it was as is, where is, sold, see you later. We don't give a fuck. Don't return it to me. Right. You looked at it, you touched
need to preview it.
If you bought it, you own it, man. I don't want to hear it unless I really misrepresented something.
Right.
With the online part, we're we stand behind everything. Everything we sell, I stand behind 100%.
Chip here,
and that
scratch
goes
there,
chips,
everything.
breaks, paint loss, this, that. So most people, they don't preview because I have it really all in the description. I'm almost writing. We're writing almost an appraisal, really. It's from dimensions to everything. So it's really turned where we're writing appraisals, and the appraisal is really the catalog, and we're standing behind it, Have
you used AI in your catalog?
We talked to the people. We met them at the convention.
Right.
And he was pretty upfront and honest, said the technology's not there. But I was working with him to kind of develop a new technology because he sees a market, that needs this technology. There is one out of Ireland right now who's been working in the antique world. But what I liked about the one that I met with at the NAA is it numbers the photographs for you.
Which is a big bane of our thing. We take 4,000 photographs in auction, and they all have to correspond to each lot. So everything has to be
cataloging. It facilitates that, correct?
It can,
but it's not. It's like
it's not good enough to say.
Have you used Google Images on your phone at all?
I don't think so.
So if on Google, there's a little camera icon, and you can take a photo of something, and it'll tell you what it is. Yeah. It's kind of the same technology.
Like if you're looking at a bird.
Right.
Like,
and you want to identify
kind of bird that it. Yes.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of technology, which we use Google Images all the time. We use all that kind of technology. In our business, 70 to 80% of the time, it gets it wrong.
Yeah, it gets it wrong. You can't find it. Yeah. So it's different. Yeah. If you were selling,
because I was wondering, like if you had crystal or something that it could identify, what kind of
that's
crystal.
even harder. Actually, what it works best for is things that have a barcode. So if we're selling toys that are like from the 1990s and later, they all have scanned barcodes, and you could literally
it can read it and tell you about it,
and it tells you right away.
That's
what it
where
is.
it would work great, and that's where AI can help with cataloging because You could scan it, but it's not going to give you condition reports and things of that nature. So no matter what, you're still going to have to go in there and tweak it. So it almost gets to a point. How much does it really help?
It's really just
it won't. It almost doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If anything, I think it opens us up more for a return or an issue that the AI
didn't pick it up.
And I think we've gathered such a crew of people that have knowledge that it would take them longer to do it that way, you know, whereas they just look at it, they know it, you know, they can rattle it off.
I think more we use it as a tool for research more than actually writing the catalog. Does that make sense? You know, so, you know, a lot of times I'll take a picture for this and then it'll come, oh yeah, it's Rosenthal, but then we just tweak the description, but I'm not having them write the catalog or anything like that. It's just not there yet when it comes to
No, but I
antiques.
love that it can number the photos.
Yeah, that's something that we should really
So
look
this may be
into.
like a hybrid. You know, you use it for certain things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think any of the technology that's out there right now, we use for certain things. And, you know, all of us, whatever works, you know, for one may not work for another, you know, and right.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely something that's going to be the wave of the future, I guess. But I don't know. I think you still need experts in the field. You know, I feel like, they're trying to say maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now, it kills auction companies or it kills producers of podcasts or kills the movie industry and stuff. It's possible, but I still think you need that connection of that human or even your own creativity to make it better.
Well, it's, you know, back to the we're getting a theme here, you know, live auctions versus online, you know, that human element, you know, is disappearing. And what could maybe be a difference maker, you know, for us in our businesses is bringing back that human component.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. I remember even
anybody can put something online.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Not everybody can work with the crowd, understand, bring you know, their expertise and everything, you know,
and create the market.
Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
I was asked by the National Auctioneers Association. This goes back maybe eight years ago, 10 years pre pandemic, and it was a big debate. You know, live auctions versus you know, online.
Yeah.
And so I was asked to, you know, take the position of live auctions, that's what you should do. And then there was somebody else that, you know, was for the online.
So it was like a debate.
Yeah. It was, you know, it was a discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it was a friendly, it was meant to, you know, make you think. And,
right.
One of the things that I was genuinely concerned with is that if we go online, then we're going to become a commodities provider.
Yeah.
And the lowest cost commodity provider is maybe who people are going to go with.
Right.
Versus if you're doing a value added,
right,
which you do with live auctions and all the things that go into, because we all know 99% of the work gets done before the actual auction day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely is right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And, you know, that was my position. I think it's kind of, you know, coming true. Because now that we've gone that way, you know, plus every time you have an auction, you're auditioning for your next, you know, your next job.
Well, that's it.
Well, that is true.
That's it. We used to, we have this discussion all the time. We used to be such a word of mouth recommended, you know, business where most of our, you know, business was coming in through word of mouth. And, you know, and we would go into everyone's homes. We wouldn't, you know, now we say, oh, please send photos because it's difficult for us to do what we do and go out to the house at the same time. Please send us photos. And we had this discussion the other day. How much stuff do we miss because people don't know what's worth money? I always tell people, what you think is worth money, throw it out.
People want to work with people that they like and feel comfortable with. And if you don't have that opportunity, you can't convey that online.
Right.
No,
right.
no,
Or it's
you
hard
can't.
to.
You know, you
Right.
can't. I mean, I've been going through for the association, trying to just get what little historical information about our association that I can, because I don't think we could list all of their past presidents if we tried.
Right,
You know?
right.
So I'm trying to gather that information and going through BG Coates stuff. And I've been trying to put it on Facebook, putting those photos up of his live, on-site sales at the home. Like they bring it out the front door, the crowd's on the lawn, and then they sell the house when they're all finished.
Yeah, that was
they would sell the house.
that was old school auctioneering.
The crowds that they drew.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And just that. I mean, even if I wasn't working at one of your auctions and Joe was doing something and I could come, I would go because I loved seeing it and seeing the house, and it just kind of had this electricity to the air,
Yeah, I miss those, and especially when we would do farms.
Yeah,
because you would get all the other farmers.
Yeah,
that would come because it was a social event. They were like, "Hi, how are you? I haven't seen you."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They're also looking to see what their farm is worth, so they're doing that.
Sure.
And they were a lot of fun.
Right. And I think too, in different, like you're saying, there was the online and in-person debate 8 years. So that's 4 years prior to the pandemic. And now I think one of the debates we used to have back then too was someone selling online should have the same standards or be a licensed auctioneer and things of that nature versus someone that was in person. And now everything's changed. I used to think, no, if they're online, it's not a real auction. But now I think it's totally different. It's a total different perspective.
Well, a lot of real estate people say they're having an auction and they're not.
Right.
It's not really an auction. They're calling it that, or last bids or whatever, but it's not.
No.
They're missing the whole point and the whole dynamics of it. But as professionals in the auction industry and as being, very involved in our different associations, that's part of our job is educating people as to what auctions really are.
Yes.
And why a good auctioneer is worth every penny.
Yep.
Yeah.
That they create.
Well, yeah, because
I am worth my 35%.
There you go. There you go.
That's what you need to start charging, 35%.
I don't want to get into discussions of commissions. We could get in a lot of trouble.
No,
with
I
that.
understand that. I'm just saying.
But
I am worth my money.
But like you said, a lot of everything happens, or almost everything happens prior to the auction. And for us, cataloging, photographing, and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I remember,
But it's also advising. Your sellers.
Right.
It's like, this is what you should do here. This is what you should do here.
Expectations and
you should
everything.
Go do something different with that.
Right. And
it's extremely valuable.
Absolutely. But I mean, even down to the details, I mean, I remember the farm in Asbury, and going out and you having people out there mowing the lawns and, caretaking the property and making sure everything is set and ready to go for sale day, down to the minor details.
Right.
Is all, you're looking over everything.
Yeah.
It's important.
She had beautiful stuff.
She had a beautiful
all
property.
winners
That was the one by the river.
Yeah, by the river.
We're all winners. We got to sell her jewelry and her personal property. You got to sell the real estate, and we all won.
Yeah. I just ran into the buyer of that the other day.
Really?
Yeah, he's done a lot of work there.
Has he?
Yeah.
No, that was a nice property.
He's delighted with it.
She had jewelry. She had like a 2-carat diamond ring, and she must have had what, 80,000 in jewelry or something like that. Something like that. I mean, we sold a lot of money for her for jewelry.
She was a tough customer, but she was nice.
A tough customer. She had beautiful clothing too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, no, she was great. She was cool.
Yeah, she was going through some hard times.
Yes, she definitely was going through some hard times.
Her son was a real help.
He was. He absolutely was. He was a nice guy.
Yeah. No, but I remember that sale. That was.
But that's another perfect case in point. Here's a woman, with her husband passing.
Yeah.
She was in a fragile state.
She was.
And you guys took her by the hand.
Yeah.
Got her, through everything. We got, took care of that whole situation. And
it turns out she knew, oh gosh, I can't think of his name, because she was connected with horse racing. Tall, thin, I cannot think of his name. He was
the mortgage guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Henry.
Yeah.
She knew Henry. I mean, it all.
Well, it's all small world.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was that support and helping. That's one of the things that we do.
That's a service.
That's it.
Absolutely, because there could be people in this business that take advantage of people in those situations, and I agree. You want to have it so that it's.
Well, I don't think it's lost on either of us that we're selling people's lifetime. We're not just selling your stuff or your home. This was your life. You know, we're selling the contents of your home where you can tell me where each piece came from, where you were, how old you were, you know, what you were doing. And you're selling the home where they can tell you every memory that happened.
Right. Absolutely.
And that fact is not lost on us, where it is lost on some other people.
No, absolutely.
You know?
And I think that's why we jive so well together, you know, because I know in 2010, it's been 16 years, you know, I would never work for another auction company, especially in New Jersey. Get the fuck. If someone asked me to come and auctioneer for them, I would never do such a thing. But we had a connection and you trusted me to come and auctioneer, and we've been tight ever since. I mean, because that, I feel like even like if I've auctioneered for you. And I've auctioneered for Babington when his mom passed. That was the one time I went down and called his sale once. But for the most part, I wouldn't do that because the auctioneer is like front and center. It doesn't matter. You can have a crooked business, but if the auctioneer's up there, the auctioneers get in the spiel. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You're the face of the company, really.
Like I went to auction school.
Right.
I could call an auction in a pinch.
Right.
But it's an art, and so I always wanted to hire people that are at the top of their game to do that.
Right.
Right. Well, and not only that.
You know, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Not only that, you personally can't be up on the auction block
because I'm doing too much.
And handling everything else at the same time.
Yeah.
So where is your time best spent?
Well, it's a conflict, and I think that's why we work so good together. When we were in the live setting,
yeah, he would be able to be up on the block.
I could be up on the block while you're handling all the fires.
Handling all too many fires.
Yeah, too many fires. Exactly.
Too many fires.
You had a hook and ladder outside, I guess. For the
crickets. I don't miss. That's one thing I don't.
Nah, there were so many fires in that.
So many
blazing.
That's after a live auction, I would be exhausted.
Yeah, no, it's a decompression.
Because your adrenaline is just going. And afterwards, you're just like, oh, I felt like I, hadn't slept for like in a week. I'd just run a 30K marathon.
I always remember after the sales, like Janet, who's my, one of my very best friends on this planet, would don't want to sit and have a conversation with me. And I'm looking at her like, I love you. I don't even want to see the whites of your eyes right now. Like I don't have anything left to give. It's all been given.
Yeah.
There's nothing left. You need solitude after that.
That's why I smoke a cigar. I mean, listen, after the auction, you're absolutely right. I'm up there, I'm on fire, this and that. And in your setting, generally, I think the longest I ever went at your place, maybe 2.5 hours, would be a long sale at your place. But on sale day for us, it would be 8 hours
5,
straight.
6,
or I would be 8 hours straight
online.
on the podium. Even online, I'm doing 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah, I take 1 5-minute quick break to eat a sandwich and then get back up.
That's it.
But there's a decompression afterwards. There's no question about it. Yep. I always like the story of Bon Jovi, because Bon Jovi told this story how he'd be out there and he sang this whole concert and it was all hyped up, and then you go home and you're all by yourself, and you go back to your hotel room and it's all by yourself and there's no one cheering for you and anything. It's just it's a weird feeling, you know. And I think it's like the same feeling afterwards.
I'm sure they had that decompression too.
Yeah. I was going to say,
you just don't realize, that adrenaline is just pumping.
Yeah. No, it is pumping.
And then when it's all done, you're like, oh.
It's so crazy. Like, and I got the biggest compliment. I did an auction for Comic Book Men, and we did a sale at the Asbury Park Convention Center, right? It was a convention center, I guess it is. So in the convention center there, I guess what was really cool is the caretaker, or the roadie, I guess he was. He took care of sound checks, this, that, everything else, and the mics and everything else. And he was telling me, Fred Astaire was here. Abbott Costello performed here. This one performed here. That one performed here. So I started thinking, wow, I'm performing here. And I'll never forget, the hardest part about that auction was there was a reverb in there of about 5.5 seconds. So I would say 5, and it would kick back at me about 5 seconds later with the reverb coming off the walls. And it was hard, man. That was
you have to tune that
intense. I had to tune it out. It was very difficult, but I did.
I'm surprised they didn't have a solution for that.
Right? That's crazy. It was a crazy reverb. Yeah. It was almost like auctioneering when we did the auction at the Somerset Patriots, and you're out there on the mic and you're that was hard too. That's a very difficult venue to auctioneer from too. But I got down after 6 hours of the sale, and that guy came up to me and said, "You were no different from Bruce Springsteen or anybody else. That was impressive what you did. That really stuck with me. I'll never forget. He told me that. I was really impressed with that. I was very proud at that moment, I guess,
Sure.
But it was like, hey, well, I could be a rock star.
I'm the first to admit it. You're a great auctioneer.
Well, thank you.
I really mean that.
I appreciate that very, very much.
And I've seen some good ones.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. No, I try. I have like my own style. I don't have that Southern twang, as much as we love those Southerners.
Sounds like a banjo to me. Not to knock anybody else's, auctioneering style, but they all sound like a banjo and it all sounds the same.
Yeah, they didn't like me. I came in like in the NAA, I guess, because I competed last year and I think I was second from the last or something like that. But I blew that because I didn't care about the competition. I wanted to present the gavel. Remember, I presented a gavel that was for
BG Coates.
BG Coates, who was the founder of the NAA, and the founder of the New Jersey State Society. And I presented that as part of the competition, and they hated it.
Well, it was not in the rules.
It was not in the rules, exactly. But I'm not one to do things in the rules,
They didn't love it, but you got better scores and better comments than you did the first time.
Yes, that is true. Yes, I did.
The first time
first time was a rough gig too. That was 10 years
you were
ago.
nervous.
I wasn't nervous, right? I don't know why, but I get nervous for anything.
But this time he was not nervous.
Now, he would probably say I'm never nervous, but every time before one of his auctions, I'd be nervous as shit, especially because with your sale, usually it's one off or maybe two properties at best. And for an auctioneer to come in strong right off the bat and work it and be done, it's hard. Yeah. That's a hard situation. You have to psych yourself in. Literally, I would go, I'd be pacing. I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I'd go. I know. I would go and pace. I would be doing my exercises and envisioning what I'm about to do and then come out.
If you're not nervous or you're not worried, then you should stop.
Right.
Yeah.
You should get out of the business.
Right.
Because it shows that you care.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When you're too complacent. That's what I used to tell my employees. When you hit the point where, because like my caller, and after, like poor Casey calling 6, 7, 8 hours. And I'd be like, Casey, take a break. No, I'm fine. And then I got this over here. I got that over there. And my clerk,
this piece of shit here.
And my clerk can't see what you're talking about. That's when I'm like, get down, get off, because you no longer care.
Right.
It's time to walk away. But I used to hear he'd auctioneer in the shower. He would.
I guess I would.
He would, because he's got to get into those.
No, he told me that.
Millions.
He said, I practice in the shower.
He does. He would practice in the shower. He'd practice his millions.
Yeah. Oh, well, definitely. Yeah. You know how many times I screwed that up at his place? I'm so used to saying $100 and 2 and 3 and maybe 1,000 to 1,500. Then we shift over to you. All right, I got to go 100,000, 125,000, or I go 25,000. I forget the 100 in front of it. But no, we're at 125. And I would always joke it up like, see, I was trying to get you in at 25, but now you're 125. Yeah. But I would smooth it over real quick. It's hard. Yeah, you get into, especially like if you're at 950, hit $1 million. Once you hit $1 million, it's a funky word. Yeah, it's hard to go 1,100,000, 1,100,100,1,1,000,001. It's just
it doesn't roll off the tongue easily.
It sounds right to the ear for this, but it's hard for auctioneering. Sure. But it sure does sound good for the pocket.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But that's what I remember is always like getting in gear for that and setting off.
Yeah, no.
But what I was going to say is that I never would have auctioneered for anybody. And then we had a connection and I did it. It's the best thing I ever did, really. I mean, out of all honesty. Because I never would have thought that I would go and help somebody else because you're in the spotlight, And not that I don't want to see another auction house fail that's local, but it just doesn't seem like.
Well, like we've talked about this with the New Jersey Association and at the National Association. We're all in the same business.
Yep.
And we have to work together and help each other.
Right.
And we all do business together. So it's, to me, these associations are so valuable. I don't care whether it's the auctioneers or whoever. It's good to have people of a same way of thinking, getting to know them, learning from them.
Right.
And it's beneficial to our clients because we're making ourselves better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I told Joe after the meeting that we had at your location, and we were talking about live auctioneers was forcing all of the other auction houses to, use their live shipping, their own shipping department, and everybody was up in arms about it.
Yeah, everybody is up in arms.
We'd been using it for 2 years. We were like a test platform for them. So we'd been in the game 2 years. And when I first started with him, I looked at people like the Malaya brothers, and I looked at them as like the head honchos, like Christie's, all this.
Right.
And so I think Mark and I were talking, at your place about things, and it came to their sale day and they finished their sale, and Janet comes to me, she goes, "Hey, Maureen, Mark Malaya's on the phone for you?" Right. And I said, "Sure." And I'm talking to him and I'm walking him through, okay, here's what I do. Here's, if you don't want it on there, here's, I'm giving him all the advice that I have.
Yeah.
And I said to him, if you would have told me when we got together years ago that I'd be on the phone with Mark Malaya giving him advice, I'd have said, you're cracked. You're out of your mind.
Right.
But that's what it is. And I don't look at anyone else's competition.
No, we're not a competition.
We stay in our lane. We do what we do and we do it well.
Yep.
And that's it.
Right. And then that's the benefit of the state society. I mean, are there other auction companies that sell the same kind of stuff we do?
Yes. Sure.
Might I get jealous a couple times? Yeah, I might get pissed off if they cut me out for 5%, but I feel I can sell myself,
Right.
But it is much better working together to better the industry. There's no question about it, because that's what it is. I mean, for us, I know you've done auctions throughout the whole country, right? You've done sales in Florida.
Yeah. Florida, New Mexico, Arizona,
right?
Connecticut.
I remember driving to Connecticut. Yes.
Yeah, primarily the East Coast.
East Coast.
Right. Maybe we should start having them like Hawaii or something. We fly out there,
There's actually a good friend of mine. He's got a place out in Hawaii.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, that would be a sale.
An auctioneer.
Right.
I think he's done auctions out there.
I have to thank Max because when we first got together, you did a sale in Cape May. Yeah. And I would try to get him on vacation all the time. And he was so anti-vacation. He was, no.
That was work. Yeah, no, I was a big work.
And then he went down, met you down there. You guys had breakfast, whatever.
Yeah, breakfast at Congress Hall outside. It was beautiful. It was beautiful out that day.
Did the auction. He comes home. He's like, I love that place. I'm like, I'm way ahead of you.
And you go every year now.
And now we go multiple times a year.
Yeah, 6 times a year.
We have
that's a lovely area.
We have a spot in an antique store down there.
Yeah,
so
we
we've
ventured
turned
to
it
have
into
antiques down there.
But so had you not gone and done that auction for him in Cape May,
that's true.
I don't think I would have convinced you to go.
You're probably right. Well, for me, it's always got to be a work trip. Like even like we do have a spot in a co-op down there, and that's what toys us to go down 6 times a year because I look at it. Well, we're gonna go and restock the store and then take a day or two. So to me, it's still geared as work.
Right, and we did 2 auctions down there.
Yeah, we did 2 auctions down there at the convention center. That's true. And that went okay.
Still toying with that idea.
Yeah, still toying with that idea. It's hard there to compete with the beach. That's what we learned. We did 2 sales there. We did a sale down there that was off season in October.
If you could just time them when it's a rainy day.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Then it's a
Hope
winner.
it all in real quick.
Yeah, then you'd really,
that's a home run winner. But yeah.
We did it in October. It was successful.
Successful in October. Then we did one dead summer in July or August.
No, we did September.
It was what?
It was right around 9/11.
It was 9/11. It was 9/11 actually, because we did a benefit. Yeah. We did a benefit thing for the fire department there. That's right. It was 9/11, and it turned out it was a beautiful day out, man. It was like we got our ass kicked. It was 15 people walked in. That's it. The rest sold online. We packed it up, and that's when I said, I'm not doing this again.
No.
I'm not dropping an extra 9,000 to fucking say I had a sale at the beach.
Yeah.
But that was. Those were good sales. I enjoyed going down. You know what's nice about that? It was almost kind of like a vacation, but not a vacation. And all the employees came.
With our work family.
And we got everybody a hotel room, and we all went out to dinner. And it was kind of like
we did a lot.
boat.
We did a lot on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, condo auctions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It was great because everyone would come down. We'd, have like a hotel.
Yeah.
And, people go to the beach during the day, and then,
I think I went with you to one of those.
Yeah, we did. I remember we went to Ocean City, Maryland, and then I ended up doing the auction for you, which is not too far from there.
Yeah.
And that was
in Annapolis.
Yeah.
We did we used to hold a lot of those resort condo things in Annapolis because it was closer
Yeah.
to
Right.
Exactly.
the marketplace.
I like that. That's the benefit of being what we do. We get to travel a lot and meet a lot of
all
different
different
people.
kinds of people.
You do meet all kinds of different people. Well, it's a fantastic business when it comes to
is.
that.
Is.
That's what I really, really love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been an hour.
It has been.
Can you believe it? It's almost been 1 hour. It's close enough. I know he's going. It's 3, 2, 1, maybe, but we're close enough.
Close enough.
At any rate, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for
Now
inviting me.
I didn't even really get to say you're Max Spann Realty. You're located in
Clinton, New Jersey.
Is it Clinton? I was going to say Annandale. I don't know why I thought Annandale.
Same deal.
Clinton, New Jersey.
Close enough.
You sell all kinds of property.
All kinds of real estate. We have a couple of farms coming up in New Jersey in the next couple of weeks. We have a farmette out in Reading, PA.
Right.
That's coming up.
Great.
Nice.
We just, like I said, we just did one down in Salem City, and we got more, government real estate auctions coming up. So
Right.
Excellent.
stay tuned.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, stay tuned. If you have a property, make sure you contact me or Max. I'll put you in touch with Max.
We work together.
We'll work
We
together on that deal. I'm sure I'll be the auctioneer. He'll be the one brokering the deal. But at any rate, if you do have a property, contact us and contact Max. And definitely, believe me, auction is the only way to go. That's my honest opinion on everything. I don't care if you're selling a car, a fine piece of jewelry, a piece of
home.
real estate,
Yep.
an ex-wife.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I'm staying out of that one.
Why do you always have to take it too far once?
Listen, I was very good this whole episode. I'm saving all my loaded questions for the next one.
Okay.
At any rate,
Don't forget to like, subscribe,
everything
follow
else.
us on all the things, all the places.
Exactly. YouTube.
And if you have stories from an auction, email us, Bodnars and Banter podcast @gmail.com.
And we will share it on the cast.
Yep, live on the podcast.
All right. Well, Max, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And once again, I'm Joe Bodnar.
Maureen.
Till next time, have yourself a wonderful day. Thanks for watching Bodnar's Bid and Banter. Remember, we're here every other week with new episodes, new stories, and wonderful, wonderful times. Make sure you check us out, bodnarsauction.com, YouTube, Facebook, all the different platforms where you watch this podcast or listen to this podcast now. Now, once again, thanks and have a wonderful day.